When you tell people you're going to Dominica, they generally assume you mean the Dominican Republic, or else they just get a quizzical look on their face. So let's be clear right out of the gate. We are not talking about the DR in this video. It is on this big island more than 600 miles away in the Greater Antilles. Dominica is this eensy-weensy little island in the Lesser Antilles, specifically in the Windward Islands. Sometimes our secret destinations are hidden below the surface of an otherwise well-known location, like Gili Meno in Indonesia or Wadi Rum in Jordan. Other times, the location itself is the secret. Dominica, for example, and Shkodër, Albania, where we're living now. Officially the Republic of Dominica, the island covers 290 square miles of the Caribbean Sea between Guadeloupe and Martinique.
What can you tell people about Dominica?
What did he say?
Dominica.
Okay, we'll start with the basics. My country's name is Dominica. We're not Dominican Republic, so it's pronounced differently. We are about roughly 70,000 people, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous gem in the Caribbean. It is near Martinique and Guadeloupe. Our primary language is English. And, well, now they have an Olympic gold medal.
Columbus is said to have passed the island on a Sunday in November of 1493 and dubbed it Dies Dominica, which is Latin for Sunday. But the Kalinago people who were living here at the time, some of whom still do, call the island Waitukubuli, which means tall is her body, which is just a way better name on every level. We stayed at this fantastic little spot called Kootenai Resorts on Moo Cow Trail in Picard on the northwest coast. And everybody likes waterfalls, am I right? Do you want to see some? Cool, let's do that first. Now, getting around on Dominica can be a little challenging because the middle part of the island is mostly just jungle and mountains. We rented a car and strongly suggest you do as well if you intend to self-guide. There are absolutely other options, though, from minibuses to personal guide services. Bottom line, give yourself plenty of time to get from place to place, whichever method you choose. Our first stop is the Emerald Pool. I'll show you the route to give you an idea of what I'm on about. The drive is only 32 miles, but takes over an hour. One look at the coast road and you can see why. The inland roads are also windy, narrow, and quite steep in places. Our trip was in June of 2022, when a lot of people were still not traveling, even though borders had been open for over a year. So while Dominica isn't nearly as overrun with tourists as a lot of other Caribbean islands, I can't promise you'll get as lucky as we did at some of the more famous spots, the Emerald Pool being a prime example.
Going to Emerald Pool.
The path down to the pool is best described as a walk rather than a hike, but keep in mind that there are a number of stairs to navigate. It is well maintained, and there are tons of flora and fauna to investigate along the way. So take your time to get the most out of the experience. It only takes about 15 or 20 minutes to reach the falls. It's not the most impressive cascade in the world, at only around 40 feet tall, but it is a stunningly beautiful spot. And if you're anything like Wendy, the water will be calling your name long before you get there. So be sure to bring your bathing suit. We had the place entirely to ourselves for about a half an hour. As we were finally making our way out, a small group arrived. It was like changing of the guard. Let's head to Spanny Falls next, which takes a little over 10 minutes by car. I feel like this walk is a bit more vertical than Emerald Pool, but it takes about the same amount of time.
Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy crap!
Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy crap!
It seemed like due to a lack of business, a number of sites weren't staffed as they normally would be, so we rarely had to pay admission fees. On the flip side, some of the paths had a bit of deferred maintenance issues. But hey, as long as they were open, we were happy. There was a charming group of men at the falls when we got there. If I remember right, one of them was a local, and he was showing some friends from the States around. Only this one guy was willing to get into the water, so Wendy struck up a conversation with him while he eventually got into position to pose for some photos. Soon after, I ventured out too. There's nothing as undeniably soothing to sore feet and refreshing to a sticky, sweaty body as a dip in some cool water. Speaking of refreshing, I'm a fan of a nice cold beer after a long day of editing. If you're enjoying our videos and want to show your support, click the link in the description to buy me a beer. If you've been following us since the beginning, you're already aware that it's nearly impossible to keep Wendy out of the water. A favorite example is Nung Nung Waterfall in Bali. While the 20-somethings were waiting in line to do yoga poses for Instagram, Wendy got right down to business, getting close enough to the falls that her hat was blown off. That was epic. Now let's pop over to Jacko Falls. It started raining the moment we got out of the car. But as I said at the time, if you don't like to get wet, don't come to the jungle. 45 seconds ago, nothing. Now, sky just opened up. I'm going to get a little footage of these stairs, and then I'm going to put the camera away so I don't fall on my ass. What did I say in Bali? 4 fucking stairs. Jacko has by far the steepest ingress of the 3 falls we visited that day, but it takes barely 5 minutes. Once again, we had the spot totally to ourselves, so we got right into the water. This is probably a good time to mention that while I love being in the water, I've never been a fan of being cold. Hello? Why do you think I like going to the tropics? And I'm not being dramatic in this footage. Wendy just doesn't have functioning temperature sensors or something. Seriously, it is pretty cold, but your body adjusts quickly, and it's really, really refreshing. There were some small fish and these orange crabs in the pool. At one point, I got convinced I'd seen another crab on a rock just in front of Wendy, but no matter how many times I pointed it out, she couldn't see it. And then I realized it was a leaf, which led me to the obvious conclusion. Maybe that's how they evolved that color, because they look like a leaf. It couldn't possibly have just been that I was mistaken. The rocks here are very, very slippery. Be sure to take your time, or maybe better yet, just stay in the deeper sections and swim. Normally, we would have kept going to at least one more waterfall that day, but we had skipped breakfast and were getting really hungry at this point. As I've noted on screen during this segment, the admission fee to each of the falls is $5 US. Keep in mind, though, that you can buy a weekly pass for $12, which is valid at all national parks on the island. We weren't charged, but if we had been, the weekly pass would have saved us $3 just on the falls we visited, not to mention other sites during our stay. If you're still feeling up to it, we'd suggest stopping at Salton Falls on your way back to the coast. Scott's Head is at the very southwestern tip of Dominica. From our cottage in Picard, that's nearly the length of the leeward coast and takes 90 minutes one way. So it's a 3-hour investment there and back. We don't mind spending some time on the road, especially in a place as beautiful as Dominica. You might be wondering how we ended up staying in Picard. Well, accommodations are a bit harder to come by on Dominica than elsewhere in the Caribbean. Once you factor in our criteria, including a kitchen, free cancellation, private bathroom, rating of at least 8 or above, a double bed, free Wi-Fi, and free parking all within our budget, that narrowed down our choices. I think we were down to maybe 5 options. Our budget for this trip was on the high side for us at $100 per night. Making apples-to-apples comparisons, Kootenai rose to the top of the rankings, and we couldn't be happier with the decision. We legit feel like we made a friend in our host Trish, and still fully intend on staying there whenever we return to Dominica. But I was talking about Scott's Head. Originally called Cashacrew by the Kalinago, it was renamed after Captain George Scott, who'd served in the British invasion force that captured Dominica from the French in 1761, and then became Lieutenant Governor of Dominica. Starting in the 1690s, the French and British wrested control of Dominica back and forth multiple times. In 1778, the French took it back, and the invasion began in a remarkable way on this spot. It's definitely a story worth checking out. I encourage you to Google it. This narrow spit of land, barely wide enough to drive across, separates the Atlantic Ocean from the Caribbean Sea in a stunning visual. On our way south, we had chatted with a local about guiding us on a hike later in the week. We'd exchanged numbers, but apparently my message hadn't gone through because here he is flagging us down. Meet our friend Pattison. You'll be seeing a lot more of him. 15 minutes north of Scott's Head is another one of the more famous locations on Dominica, Champagne Beach.
It says welcome. Ooh.
That's Champagne Beach.
Oh, you want to plop down there?
From the road, there's a set of stairs down to the beach where you'll find various businesses, including a snack bar and a whale watching service. Dominica has the world's first sperm whale reserve, which covers an area of 490 square miles. And Champagne Beach has bubbles. It's super cool. Volcanic activity down below creates the bubbles, and it is really fun and unique. You need to walk all the way to the end of the beach to see the best bubbles, and the beach is rocky, so plan your footwear properly. Now, let's jump in the water and have a look. Several scenes from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies Dead Man's Chest and At World's End were filmed on Dominica. The suspension bridge foot chase in Dead Man's Chest was shot in the peaks directly above Champagne Beach. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Molly. We drove by her place almost every day that we were there, and sometimes we drove by, she wasn't open yet, but we knew we had to check it out, and one day we did.
I didn't realize she was going to be quite so generous. You know, a place that just gives you a little dinky plastic fork has got to have good food.
Oh, I'm flying home to grab. Delicious. But the meat is tender and delicious.
I haven't come across any bones yet.
That's a pretty
I
giant
just
bone.
got to put my fork in there and twist.
Yeah. I knew I was going to like the plantains. Just after dinner last night, it's like, okay, that's my go-to. That's my go-to side
Yeah,
when
like
I'm in the
now.
Caribbean from now on. Alright, that was delicious. Glad we went there.
No idea what part of the pig this is.
It doesn't matter. Don't want to know. This whole meal, plus drink, was $15.
At the southern end, we hired a boat for a few hours one day to do some snorkeling further from shore. Our captain was Ked, and his company is called Dominican Water Tours. We chose the 2-hour custom tour for $300 USD, which is good for up to 4 people. We boarded in Scott's Head and first got into the water up off Champagne Beach.
La Beam. La Beam. Have you heard about him?
Yes.
So it's right
Yeah, the abyss, right? That means the abyss, right?
Yeah.
So it just broke off here?
Yeah. And no one knows the depth of the water yet.
Really?
I mean, for real.
Wow.
Then again, off Scott's Head itself, where the volcanic nature of Dominica is in your face evident by this sheer drop into the abyss.
And then, bye.
Freedivers love this spot because they can ply their trade just yards from shore. Check this out. Katerina Sadurska from Ukraine broke her own world record here in the constant weight no fins category in 2024 by freediving 269 feet in 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Our highlight that day was this fish hovering about 25 feet below the surface. We think he might have been visiting a cleaning station, but visibility wasn't great. Wendy had initially thought she'd spotted a shark while I was in the boat changing camera batteries, so I had to hurry up and get back in the water hoping to see it. She quickly realized that it wasn't a shark, but it was still a fun sighting. To date, this is the largest fish I have seen in person. We're still not sure what species it is, so if anyone watching could let us know in the comments, we'd really appreciate it. Scooting up the coast, north of Portsmouth, we also snorkeled at Douglas Bay. There's a little parking area here, just north of the Intercontinental Hotel. The beach is black volcanic sand, and the ground lizards were putting on quite a show. Douglas Bay was a bust for us, but rumor has it you can often find sea turtles there. About 5 minutes further north, we tried our luck at Toucari Bay with much better results. Have a look. As we were leaving Toucari Bay, just as we're getting ready to pull away, we hear this voice calling out, yelling frantically. And we're thinking, oh man, I left something on the roof of the car. Did I forget something? What's going on? And he just jumps in the car. And we knew what the hill was like that we were about to drive up. And it's like, well, yeah, duh. This guy needs a ride. I think it was like 4 or 5 minutes. No big deal. He just needed to get up this super steep and windy section of road. Once we got to this intersection, he was like, yep, this is good. Thanks. It was awesome.
Okay, you too. I don't know why I said thank you.
The Boiling Lake is a large, flooded fumarole located in the mountainous jungle of southern Dominica. There is no road. It is only accessible via the Boiling Lake Trail, which begins near T2 Gorge. When we were there, the trail hadn't been used or maintained much for months. The hike is just over 8 miles, up and over a tall ridge, then down to the river, before climbing to an elevation above 3,100 feet, followed by a descent into the aptly named Valley of Desolation. We strongly advise that you hire a local to lead you, if for no other reason to navigate the valley. One wrong step on the thin crust in areas here could spell at least a nasty scald and potentially much worse. The locals are fun and have a wealth of knowledge on the island, and you're supporting the local economy to boot. The lake is roughly 200 feet in both diameter and depth. It is the second largest of its kind in the world after Frying Pan Lake in New Zealand. Wendy and I are among the small fraternity who've been to both. Measured temperatures at the edges of the lake are 194 degrees Fahrenheit. For reference, at 150 degrees for 2 seconds, water can create third-degree burns. Steam and gas vent from the
liquid hot magma
below, heating the water to a steady 212 degrees at the hottest point. The trail ends at a broad, cliff-topped ledge about 100 feet above the surface. The basin is replenished by rain and 2 small streams. This is not a hike to be taken lightly. This trail is no joke, and you should be well prepared before giving it a go. Which is why we're going to be publishing an in-depth video focused solely on the Boiling Lake. If you haven't subscribed yet, now would be a good time.
Oh, fucking shit. Oh my God. We made it.
Cabrit's National Park takes up most of Prince Rupert's Head Peninsula, just north of Portsmouth. There's a lot to do here, but our main reason for visiting was to see Fort Shirley. The park was open, but the gate wasn't, so we entered on foot. There was simply no one around. It's about 10 minutes up a moderate grade to reach the fort. If you're into history or just like awesome vistas, it's totally worth it. In our Antigua series, we attended the world-famous Sunday night party at Shirley Heights. Well, this place is named after the same guy and for a similar reason. The British built Fort Shirley in 1765, and it's named for Sir Thomas Shirley, then governor of the Leeward Islands. The garrison consisted of more than 50 buildings, including barracks for over 600 men. This building is the restored officers' quarters. In April 1802, this was the setting for the famous revolt of the 8th West India Regiment, when African soldiers recruited as slaves took over the fort for 3 days. Their actions resulted in all slave soldiers in the British Empire being made free in 1807. My absolute favorite part of our time at the fort was this kid. He was just beside himself with excitement over our drone. Unfortunately, his dad called him away before I could offer him a flying lesson. We walked down Moocow Trail pretty much every night to have dinner at Infinity Restaurant. Trish's dog Pino often led the way. We quickly got to know the owner, Narek.
Are you doing some advertising for us?
Of course. Got to get the whole experience, the whole walk-in and everything, right? Well. Oh, hello, Wendy.
During one walk home, we got caught in a sudden downpour.
Wet t-shirt.
We're on our way home from dinner, and the jungle said, "Guess what? You need a second shower." So we're a little wet. We shared in the Antigua series that island touts 365 beaches. Well, as a volcanic island, Dominica doesn't boast many beaches at all, but it does claim 365 rivers. And one night, we asked Narek if we should go on a boat tour on the most famous, the Indian River. Not only did he say yes, he gave us the name of a guide to look for when we got there. When we parked at the mouth of the river, 5 or 6 boatmen approached, loudly vying for our attention. Once we'd said, "We're looking for Spesh," they all quieted and pointed him out for us. I don't have Spesh's contact information, but chances are he still runs a boat. Couldn't hurt to ask around.
Say hi, Spesh. Hi, Spesh.
Within just a minute or two from the bridge, you're already transported into the most peaceful, beautiful, mesmerizing landscape.
This was a really good idea.
There are many plants and animals endemic to Dominica, and Spesh was quick to point out any he thought we might miss, like this iguana sunning itself in a tree. Certain bends in the river feel surreal and almost fabricated. I think this is because they're burned into my subconscious from watching Dead Man's Chest.
You can see why they filmed Pirate of the Caribbean here. You know?
When I mentioned that film, Spesh took a sudden left turn.
Oh, okay.
And before we knew it, we were pulling up to Tia Dalma's shack. Very, very cool.
So this house is made from about 20 different type of wood.
Wow.
Like the red wood on the wharf, we call it gommier. We have loyer, we have foyer, we have chatanier, we have kubawi, we have gommier, we have red cedar, we have white cedar, we have blue mao, blue oak. We have 1,000 different trees. All hardwood.
All hardwood. Yeah. Land crabs and freshwater fish abound the length of the cruise. Birds and lizards and the spectacular bois mang trees keep your head on a swivel while your guide offers a steady stream of information and anecdotes. Just enough to be entertaining and informative while maintaining the chill, serene vibe that is Dominica. I'd love to share some of them here, but I don't want to steal their thunder. You'll just have to visit for yourself and find out. Your inland journey ends with a stop at the Bush Bar, where you can try the island's signature rum punch, smoked fish, and other local cuisine. We sat down and enjoyed the breeze off the river, explored the site a bit, and enjoyed more of Spesh's particular brand of narration. In retrospect, I can't believe I had resisted this experience even a little. It's not just a boat ride. It's not just a guided tour. It's not just beautiful scenery. And it's more than just the sum of its parts. In many ways, I feel like this river tour is a perfect microcosm of Dominica. I'm not exaggerating when I say this experience changed me in a very, very positive way. One thing you notice pretty quickly is the large role religion plays in the lives of many Dominicans. The many churches, the murals in every town and village, the Bible verses and prayers plastered on car windows and businesses. I asked Spesh about his island's particular relationship with religion. Now, consider that Dominica has 9 active volcanoes, regular earthquakes, and sits directly in the juiciest part of Hurricane Alley, while having virtually zero means of evacuating the populace in an emergency. There is a certain inexorable inevitability and a very real and pragmatic view of the situation that Spesh summed up simply when he said, "When the next big eruption happens, we all go to heaven." As I'm recording this, Wendy and I have been to 13 countries together on 6 continents, and we talk about and reminisce over Dominica more than any other. The only stain on our trip is that we were so wiped out and sore after the boiling lake that we had to cancel the only dive we had scheduled.
I don't want to walk anywhere ever again.
I can't promise that it'll hold the same magic for you, but I can tell you that this video barely scratches the surface of what that little island has to offer. There's an entire side of the island we didn't make it to that week. You can really create your own custom experience. The backdrop and the people are truly what make the Nature Island such a special place. And in our opinion, you'll be doing yourself a favor if you visit. Thanks as always for watching. See you in the next one.